Sydeny Guerrette, you've come a far way to be here with us today.
Yes, I have.
Yeah. Where are you coming from?
We were originally coming from Portland, Maine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we were there for a couple of weeks of fundraising, so.
And you were born and raised in Maine?
Yes.
Okay. So tell us a little bit more about yourself. One thing I know for sure, music has been a very integral part of your life ever since the age of 4, right?
Yeah.
How did that come about?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. My parents always wanted us to take piano lessons, but I just I just started loving it, and I wanted to do that for a very long time. So I played it for about 10 years. Hardcore piano lessons. And then,
hardcore piano lessons?
Yes.
What does that mean?
Well, it was theory and
Yes.
composition and things like that. Those are really important. But for my family, we are all about ear. We just love having that ear where we're able to listen to something and just play it. And then I fell in love with the guitar when I learned how to play at 14. And it all kind of just came up after that.
Okay. So, wow, you went ahead and you just jumped by
Sorry.
10 years. No worries. But I'm going to scroll us back a little bit.
Yes.
How do you think, since being at the age of 4 and doing this hardcore piano lessons, how do you think that actually forged your path in terms of leading you to where you are today?
Honestly, that is an amazing question that I've never answered before, and I don't really know how to answer that. I think, like I said, it was kind of just that love of music. We actually dug up a letter. It was in some boxes when we were unpacking to get rid of 60% of what we have. But it was my mom wrote this to one of my preschool teachers, and it was talking about how I've always loved music and dancing. Whenever a song would come on, I would always try to play and dance to it. So that love for music has always been there. And I think it's one of those things where it just started to come up into something that I never really knew it could.
And it's still leading you.
Right, it is.
So you are currently now, and it opened up through the channel of music. You are a young person who are trying to support and encourage and help other young people. That's slightly different from music. Where did that passion come from?
Well, I guess the whole story behind Be the Change, I always kind of talk about it in 3 different stories, and it all kind of ties together. But the first one, I wanted to raise money for an organization, and I didn't really know what that would look like. So I talked to my parents, and they used to be wish granters for the MakeAWish Foundation.
But why did you want to even help young people? Where did that come from?
My parents have always really taught us to, number 1, glorify God with everything that you do, and number 2, serve others. This isn't about you, and you're here to help others and serve God, and that
Life
has always
not
been
about you.
Right, it's not. And so that's always been ingrained in us, ever since we were born, honestly, because when my mom was pregnant with me, she was wish granter, so that's kind of our joke. It's always been there. But I just always had a love for people, and I've always wanted to help in some way, and I didn't know what that would look like. So we ended up looking at how much it would cost to raise money for the MakeAWish Foundation, and each state has a different average cost. So for Maine, it's $7,000. So right off the bat, I knew I wasn't going to raise that money by myself. So I asked a bunch of my friends to see if they want to fundraise with me, and so over the course of that summer, some of us ran 5Ks. Me and my friend, we wrote a song and sold it on Bandcamp. Another one of my friends, she designed T-shirts, and others did bake sales and other things like that. And over the course of 5 months, we finished raising the $7,000. And so it was about 2 weeks after, and this is the second part, we all went on our first family missions trip to Eleuthera, Bahamas, which is one of the poorest cities in the Bahamas. There we got to clean up the hurricane debris and just spend time with the kids at local churches and schools, neighborhoods. And I had made a friend that week. His name is Nathaniel, and I always say, always, that he is the most joyful person I will probably ever meet in my entire life. And on the last day of the trip, we went to his neighborhood, and I found out that he had to walk to get his own water, lived on the dirt floor with all of his 7 brothers and sisters. And so coming back to Maine after that trip, I was convicted because I had so much, and yet I wasn't joyful whatsoever. And I deal with depression for about a couple months.
You dealt with depression
yes.
after that experience?
We went through a really awful church experience, and that really kind of played into it. I doubted God, doubted my own faith. I was ready to walk away from the church.
How old were you at the time?
I was 15. I was 15.
And you were contemplating to walk away from the church?
Yes. And through all of that, seeing Nathaniel be so joy-filled with so little really kind of changed my aspect. And the third part is kind of that walking away where I was doing youth worship at one of our old churches, and I was talking to the youth pastor, and we were kind of figuring out like what songs to lead for the next upcoming weeks. And he told me like, hey, you should lead a Taylor Swift song. And I looked at him and I was like, well, there's nothing good with a Taylor Swift song. Like, there's nothing like wrong with listening to a Taylor Swift song because, but like you have to make sure that you're honoring God with what you're playing. And so I told him that, and he looked at me and he was like, you're a kid, what do you know? Nothing. I'm the adult and I'm going to make the decisions. So just seeing all of these things kind of happen in a way, I was like, we need to create a space, be the change, where we can encourage kids and teens to use their gifts and talents to advocate for others, but also say that you guys are the church of today, not the church of tomorrow, and you guys are leaders of today. You guys can be leaders. And we've had like 5-year-olds raise $800 for organizations that we've been partnered with, and it's just been the most amazing experience. I could never have asked like for anything more, but God's opened my eyes to who he truly is and how we can encourage one another to really advocate for others and serve God.